Hello YouTube, your friends from Crypto Crane here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Antminer E3, fresh out of the box. We'll be going over physical dimensions and specs, taking a look at how it actually performs, and doing a bit of comparing and contrasting to see how it stacks up against previous Antminer models. Ready? Then let's go! Okay, and here we go. There is the Bitmain box, complete with Bitmain tape. Let's get our handy-dandy X-Acto knife out, carefully cutting along the side. There we go. And yep, don't forget about the other side. Good, well done. Yep. Hey, what do you know? It's still taped because you haven't cut it yet. There we go. And once more in the middle for posterity. Wonderful. And the box is open. Oh yes, absolutely. Close it up. Safety first. It's up. And let's get rid of that because nobody actually reads that. Yep. Front, back, side to side. Very good. Let's get... Oh my goodness. This thing is heavy. How heavy? I'm not sure. I'll say maybe double an S9. There it is in all its glory. Pull off the styrofoam end caps. Whoa, hang on. Those are two fans on the front. So right away we notice a significant difference between the E3 and pretty much every other Antminer model out there. I wonder if that means there'll be two fans on the back. Oh, no, never mind. All right, let's get that anti-static wrap off, aka the bubble wrap. Yeah, again, this sucker is heavy. Best to stand it back up and, of course, look like you're completely inept. Yeah, naughty little corner. There we go. Okay, there we almost go. Almost there. Tricky, tricky. The tension is building and it's off. Wonderful. Yes, well done. Yeah, those are two fans right on the front of it. And as we kind of saw, and we'll take a closer look at later, there are no fans on the back. I wonder what inspired Bitmain to go with two fans on the front, as opposed to the normal front and back configuration. Oh well. Okay, let's get it turned around. Normal ribbon cables. Whoa, 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 hang on, pause, pause. Did I see, are there only two power connectors for each hashing board? Looks like there are. We're going to come back to that in a second. And confirmed, there are no exhaust fans on the back, just this lovely honeycomb-shaped covering. Curious that Bitmain's relying exclusively on the increased airflow from having both fans on the front, as opposed to one intake and one exhaust fan. Now let's take just a second to further investigate those hashing board power connectors. Sure enough, there are only 6 of them, 2 for each of the hashing boards. Yet another interesting characteristic of the E3. Next, let's take a look at some of the standard spec stuff. Length and width and height and weight and blood type and social security. Well, no, never mind. Head to toes measurement, aka height, is 13 inches. Yes, 13. Stem to stern, or length, is, well, it's a little hard to see, but it's just over 15.5 inches. And width comes in at right around 5 1/8 inches. Now then, the measurement I'm most curious about, the weight. Pulling this guy out of the box, it was immediately apparent that the E3 is much heavier than its Antminer brethren. My guess was that it was just about double the weight of an S9, which sits right around 11 pounds. Let's see what the E3 comes in at. Well, seems I was too timid. The Antminer E3 weighs a whopping 23 pounds 5 ounces. Roughly double the weight of an S9, a T9, or an L3++, and nearly 2.5 times as heavy as a V9. The subtitle of the E3 is now, bigger is better. Now that we've covered what the Antminer E3 looks like, let's examine how it actually works. We'll start by taking a look at how much power it pulls when it's in use, and how loud it is while running. Here's the E3 in our server room, powered up and running normally. That means, of course, that the startup sequence is done, it's done that wind up, wind down thing, and it's running like it would be normally. According to our kilowatt meter, it pulls 712 watts on a 220 volt circuit. and it looks like it produces about 65 decibels of sound. For comparison's sake, that's about as loud as a dishwasher is when it's running. That's significantly quieter than most other Antminers for sure. And speaking of running, let's look at the E3's profitability, which I'm sure is what most of you are here for anyway. But before we do, it's worth pointing out the somewhat unique process necessary to set up the miner config page on the E3's web interface. Since there are so few pools that work with the E3 right now, we decided to test it out with Bitmain's own pool, known as Antpool. For some reason, Antpool decided that the password field would hold both your identifying information and pass that info from the miner to the pool, while the user ID is pre-populated as a fixed string that's the same for literally everyone. Again, this is specific only to Antpool, but since they're pretty much the only game in town, it made sense to point this out. Fortunately, Bitmain released a guide to walk you through the process. We included the link to it in the video description. One more noteworthy detail. Another difference between the E3 web interface and that of other Antminers is that the E3 miner status page appears to show the hashing rate strictly in hashes per second, not megahashes per second. It is indeed the latter number that's represented. In other words, even though it only says hashes per second, rest assured the number you see is megahashes per second. Let's just chalk that up to an oopsie on Bitmain's part. Got it? Great. Now let's talk money. We ran the E3 for just about a full uninterrupted week, though our internet did blip out briefly, so the miner essentially had its connection reset once during that time. During that week, it hung steady at just about 195 megahashes per second. So, in 1 week's time, we were able to mine approximately 0.1048497037809 Ethereum. But regardless of how you swing it, that's valued at just about $43.25. Speaking of money, let's talk for just a second about the E3 as it compares to the only other way that previously Ethereum could be mined. Until very recently, the only way to mine Ethereum was with a GPU rig. Prior to the release of the E3, a fairly typical 6 GPU miner setup that runs about 180 megahashes per second went for around $3,500. Meaning you get a return on your investment in a little over 22 months, though that doesn't take into account the cost of electricity. The E3, on the other hand, goes for just under $1,700, including both power supply and shipping costs. Running at about 195 megahashes per second like ours did, that would see a return on your investment in just over 10 months. Significantly shorter time than what it would take to get a return on a GPU setup. Just thought that was worth pointing out. So there it is. Let's take a look at some of the more noteworthy statistics that we covered. The E3 is about 15.5 inches long, a little over 5 inches wide, and just over 13 inches high. And it weighs a solid 23 pounds and change. It features 2 fans on the front of the miner rather than the standard front-back fan pairing. When it's running, the E3 pulls about 712 watts on a 220-volt circuit and kicks out roughly 65 decibels of sound. And in terms of profitability, we earned $43.25 from 1 week of uninterrupted, mostly uninterrupted, mining. As always, thanks for watching. Kindly give the video a like, tell your friends how great it was, and of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We've got new stuff coming out all the time. Peace!